السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
عليكم السلام.
عليكم السلام.
So, welcome to the discussion of nervous system. Inshallah, today we will have approximately 2 hours session, and today we will be basically focusing on the sensory part of the nervous system. Okay. So please, whenever you have a question, you need any clarification, you can either ask the question directly or type it in the chat box. But please keep on asking the things. I will also ask you certain questions. We'll have certain polls also, inshallah, so that I know how many of you are with me. So what do you know about nervous system? You can use the annotation command, and if you want, you can write or you can just speak up. So what do you know about nervous system? You can give me the basic structure and the basic function. Yes, who is going to start?
Maybe it's the system which gives you knowledge about the outside world.
Excellent. So you get information or knowledge about the external world. So I will add to it also the internal. There are a lot of sensations which are inside. Okay, what else?
Covers the whole body.
Yes. Again, please.
It covers the whole body.
So yes, connects with the whole body. So what is the purpose of connecting with the whole body?
It gives it harmony and it gives it a rhythm when it works together. So when you raise your hand or you want to run.
Excellent. So it is the source of coordination then.
Yes, that word. Yes.
The whole thing works together as one whole. Excellent. What else?
The nervous system consists of neuron cells.
Nerve cells are there, which are in brief called neurons. Excellent. Any other cell also present in nervous system?
No. No, doctor.
No other cells are present in the nervous system. Yes.
Okay.
These are the supporting cells, also known as glial cells.
I see.
Glial cells are present in the peripheral nervous system, right?
So peripheral system is also part of nervous system, isn't it?
Yeah.
And glial cells are also present in the central nervous system, not only in the peripheral. Okay, such as oligodendroglia. And in the peripheral system, you have got Schwann cells. What else? So what you have just told me, you have got a central nervous system,
and peripheral nervous system.
peripheral nervous system. Okay, great. So what is the central nervous system? What is present in central nervous system?
Present in the thoracic
Trunk.
vertebra and lumbar vertebra.
When you are naming it as vertebra, vertebra is a bony structure. So what you
Yes,
really
yes.
mean is spinal cord.
Spinal cord,
Yes.
yeah, right.
Okay. And what else there in the central nervous system?
Brain.
Then
Yes, of course, the brain. Brain, spinal cord, and in between there is smaller structure like cerebellum. You are familiar with cerebellum?
what?
Cerebellum. In brain, you have got cerebral cortex. Okay.
Okay.
And also there is cerebellum. Have you heard about cerebellum?
Yes, but I have forget.
Okay, inshallah, we'll discuss a little bit of cerebellum also. Just briefly remember that this is having a main function in balance of the body. So what is in the peripheral nervous system?
Her peripheral parts, hands, leg, skin.
Anyone else? Yes. What is meant by peripheral nervous system?
Nervous system, which is located outside the central nervous system and send the impulses to the muscle or organ.
Okay, that's great. See, you have got the central nervous system. I have just drawn like brain and spinal cord, and then there are nerves. Okay, coming out either from the brain or from the spinal cord, and they are the ones which actually, as you have just mentioned, connect to the muscles and bring messages from the skin also. So this is the nerves. They are basically the components of peripheral nervous system. Okay. All right. So what we would like to do now, just quickly tell me, who is going to read? Abdullah?
Okay, I can read.
Yes, your hand is raised, so that's why I just mentioned it. Please, can you read, and then we'll have some discussion about this.
All right. I start now.
Yes, please.
Okay. A young man was brought to the emergency who was stabbed in the back on the right side at approximately number 1 level. On a
Very good.
neurological examination, he had 1. Loss of motor control of the right leg. 2. Both the right arm and left arm were normal. 3rd, absence of mechanosensory sensations in the right leg with a perceived pain and temperature
Reserved.
sensation.
Yeah.
And 4th, normal microsensory sensations, but absence of pain and temperature sensation in the left leg.
Okay. Now, do you know what is the meaning of stabbing in the back?
Stabbed طعن using knife,
Excellent.
something like that.
So, stabbing with the knife or a sharp object where the tissues are cut then.
Yeah.
Okay. And where the stabbing is occurring? On the right side at approximately lumbar one level, as you have mentioned. Good. Now, because of this injury, there is some certain problems that have occurred. And this is given in neurological examination. So once again, you start one by one.
Yeah, Doctor, what?
See, what I am now doing is I am giving you a cross section of spinal cord. You
yeah.
have seen this type of image before?
What, Doctor? Because your son was
What I am saying that have you seen something like this before? Image. This is spinal cord.
I I saw it in the X-ray image, something
Okay.
like this.
But have you been taught in anatomy, histology, something like this?
Yeah. This
Okay.
inside is called w gray
Gray
matter,
matter.
right? Gray
Yes.
matter, and outside the white matter.
White matter. Excellent.
Yeah.
So what is gray matter?
Gray matter, sensory motor, not sensory. mm, I forget, to be honest.
You forget? Yes, the gray matter is basically cell bodies.
Cell body. Yeah, right. And the white matter is the axon, right?
Yes, white matter are the axons.
Axon.
Very good. So what is happening? That right half,
The right arm and the left arm were both normal.
yes.
Yeah.
So because
Lost motor in the right leg, he said.
yes, loss of motor control of right leg. So
Yeah.
this is the this shaded area. This is how the damage has occurred at the level of spinal cord. Okay.
Yeah.
So because of this damage, motor control is gone for right leg. And we are not going to discuss the motor right now. The other thing was right arm and left arm. They are absolutely normal because the damage is below
And
the
the
lumbar level.
number, yeah.
And now this is the thing which we will have to discuss. The mechanosensory. Mechanosensory, briefly, you can say that this is the touch sensation.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay.
So there is loss of touch sensation in the right leg, but the pain and temperature sensations are okay.
And
Right.
in the left leg is normal, the mechanical sensation. But the
Yes.
right, yeah.
But there is loss of pain and temperature.
Temperature, yeah.
Hmm.
Sensation.
So ultimately, what we are having is that there is some sensations gone in the right leg and some sensations gone in the left leg.
Left leg.
So what has happened?
Mm. Mm.
Anybody can think of?
Maybe there's some connection between them that
Yes,
cause
definitely.
the less sensation of the temperature and the pain of the left leg. Maybe.
Yes, this is what you have to think. What is happening? So we will
Connection was
have,
lost.
huh?
The connection was lost from the step to the right section. It was gone,
Yes,
خلاص.
yes,
The
but
cells are dead. There's no
excellent.
connection from the brain to the hand or the leg.
From the hand or the in the hand is okay, only from the legs. The problems are only from the legs. The
Because
problem is on both sides. Why both sides?
because they're shared. They're not separated by a wall or something. They're the same. There is one spinal cord.
But as you see here, at the top, the spinal cord has two exactly similar halves, mirror image.
Still, they're the same. The same signal goes right and left.
Mhm. Okay, so now you have something for thinking. We'll come to that. All right, I'll ask you now a question. Can you see?
Yeah,
Yes.
we see it.
So please quickly answer. This is a multiple choice. More than one things could be true.
What is the last one? Proprioception.
Yes. Anybody knows? Physiotherapy people should be knowing proprioception. Proprioception is basically sense of joint, position, and movement. See, if you see my hand, this is
Yeah, we can see it.
this is flexion, this is extension. Okay. Without even looking at it, if somebody makes my fingers like this, I can still know that this is flexion and this is extension. My hand is flexing, my hand is, fingers are extending. Okay. So this sensation is called proprioception. Only 9 students are with us out of 44? 11. Let us see whether 44, figure of 44 is achieved or not. Everyone become active. Get out of your bed. Yes, one more minute. Quickly, we have still 30 students to answer. Out of Saleh and Umar are responsible. Get the colleagues to answer quickly.
Yes, doctor. I don't know the rest, so I just submitted the answer.
You should have a stick in your hand. Huh? Get everybody up. So we have got 21 answers. It means only 21 are present. So I will get the result of the polls to mark the attendance. Okay. All right. Most of you, of course, they have answered correctly about touch. When we talk about Hawase Khamsa, so what are those 5 things? All right, out of 43, 23 students participated and 91% said that touch is a sensation, 87% temperature, 83% pain, only 35% said that pressure sensation is felt, vibration is felt, and then proprioception. Because this is a new word, so you did not know about this, so no problem. So the answer basically is that all of these are the sensations which we can feel. Okay?
Okay, got it.
Okay, doctor.
And we will now discuss how we are able to feel so many different sensations. Anybody can give us an idea?
I think it's the same mechanism for all of them.
Excellent. The mechanism is the same. But then how the brain differentiates that this is cold, this is touch, this is pain.
Depend how the impulses sent from the, for example, the touch or the pain to the brain, and the brain differentiate like if this is touch or pain. I don't know.
This is a very important thing, isn't it? How the
Yeah.
brain is able to sense that, oh, this is a pain signal, this is a touch signal.
Learning, he learned growing up, because every single signal is a different signal from another. Like vibration is different from heat, heat is different from cold. The
You
brain
are correct that the signals are different, but how the signals are transmitted in the nervous system you have studied before?
vibration moves the muscles.
No. My question is that if you have got a nerve, see, this is a nerve coming from skin and going to the brain ultimately. So how the signal is transmitted?
I don't know,
What is
maybe the
the
by axons.
by axons, and what mechanism is present in the axons to send the signal?
Lateral conduction.
very
Electrical
touch.
conduction. Do you remember this thing?
Yeah.
Action potential?
Yes,
Hmm?
in the first lecture we took it.
Yeah.
Action potential. Do you mean action
Ba-
potential?
ba- yeah, basically it is an electrical change. Okay. So in all the axons, the action potential is the same. But still the brain knows that this is a pain signal, this is a heat signal, this is a touch signal. How?
Maybe there's two types of neurons. There's sensory and there's motor neurons.
Yeah, definitely. That is a separate thing. We are not discussing about motor. We are only concerned with sensory today. And your answer in the beginning is very relevant to sensory also. Maybe there are more than one type of what?
Sensory?
Yes, sensory neurons are more than, instead of saying sensory neurons, it's better to say receptors are of many types. Okay. So, inshallah, now we will just quickly go through these things, and you can check the objectives later on. Basically, the nervous system, as we have mentioned, is a control system for coordination, so that all our other systems, they operate in a base so that the body gets the benefit. So this is what is control system. Nervous system is a control system. And we have got, in addition to nervous system, what other system is responsible for controlling various functions in the body?
Is sympathetic and parasympathetic count
Yeah,
as a system?
that is a part of nervous system. So the other thing is endocrine system. You remember this name, endocrine?
Yes.
So endocrine is basically hormones. Hormones are also very important in controlling the functions of different organs. And the main difference between nervous system and endocrine system is that the nervous system is a fast system, whereas endocrine system is a relatively much slower system. And as we have mentioned, the most important thing in a control system is ittisalat, communication. And what we just mentioned a short while ago, the electrical messages are the ones that are used for communication. And you have correctly told me that these are in the form of action potentials. Okay. Whereas the endocrine system, it uses hormones to communicate. You have also told me that the nervous system is composed of neurons, and I have mentioned that there are other cells which are called neuroglial cells. So, for example, the myelin sheath is basically produced by Schwann cells in the peripheral nervous system. Schwann cells in peripheral, and then oligodendroglial cells in central nervous system. Okay. And for just for your information, the number of this neuroglial cells, these cells, is much more as compared to neurons. The supporting cells are more in number as compared to neurons. And you are also familiar that in a neuron, you will have a cell body with dendrites. Then this is the axon, which can be myelinated or unmyelinated. Anybody can tell me what is the function of myelin? Yusuf Al-Abad. Can you tell me what is the function of myelin?
Maybe it's make the action potential more faster.
Excellent, excellent. So if an axon has got myelin, it will be able to transmit the message faster, much faster. Okay. And then we have got the terminal buttons. This is the area which will make synapse with the next neuron. Okay. And somebody mentioned that there are different types of neurons. Some of the neurons are sensory neurons, which are in the sensory system. Some are motor neurons. And in between, we have got also relay neurons or interneurons. They are also called interneurons, okay, which are in between the two types, connecting connecting them, one with other. The sensory neuron may be connected to the motor neuron with the help of interneurons. So these are the types of neurons that are present, and we will see the functions of these, how they are helping us in various places. Okay. And we have also discussed that nervous system is basically composed of the central part, brain and spinal cord, and peripheral nerve. Here you see the nerves, okay? The center is right in the middle. They have not shown the center in this particular diagram. On the other side, it's only the central nervous system in purple color. So this is the central nervous system, brain and spinal cord, and this all with greenish bluish tinge is peripheral nervous system. These are all the nerves that are coming out from the lower portion of the brain and the spinal cord. Now, the next thing, in more detail, somebody just mentioned sympathetic and parasympathetic. So both of them, they are under autonomic nervous system, which is primarily controlling various glands, smooth muscle, and heart muscle. The other portion with which we are concerned today is somatic nervous system. Soma means body. What is soma? The body. Okay. So somatic nervous system means the nervous system which is going to bring us information from the whole body, and the one which will be controlling the skeletal muscles in the whole body. So this somatic nervous system can be further divided into sensory nervous system and motor nervous system. Sensory is also called, what is written here? Haider Muhammad Al-Safa.
Yes,
And
doctor.
yes. So somatic nervous system is divided into what?
And sensory and motor.
Yes. And sensory is also, what is written?
Afferent.
And motor is?
Efferent.
Different. Okay, so just keep in mind this difference. Any information coming from periphery towards the center is afferent, and information going from center to periphery is efferent. Okay, great. And sympathetic nervous system is basically acting when? What is the main activity of sympathetic nervous system?
Do you mean it's active on stress?
Yes, excellent. This system is basically for fight or flight. Have you heard this thing?
Yes, doctor.
And then
Yes,
what
yes.
is the function of parasympathetic then?
In the relaxing state.
Excellent. Rest and digest. This is parasympathetic. Okay. All right. So these things you have already told me, and we go forward. This is a diagram just to make you aware of various other parts also. What is this blue? All this, somebody can tell me? Ahmad Al-Mansoor. Yes, Abdullah, you can tell.
Cerebellum.
This blue one is, this one is cerebellum. The
لا cerebral cortex. Cerebral
yes,
cortex.
cerebral cortex. Excellent, excellent. So we have got these various structures which you should be knowing actually. So this is the cerebral cortex, the blue one. The purple one is cerebellum. Anybody can also point out other structures? Here, the small structure is hypothalamus. Anybody knows the function of hypothalamus? Muhammad Isa? Yes, Abdullah?
Control the, I think, the pituitary gland, which control the releasing of hormones, right?
Excellent. So it is the main controller of, you can say, endocrine system also. There are so many other functions. We will come to that later on. Then we have got this midbrain and pons and medulla. So three structures here. Okay, this is pons, this is medulla, and then further down will be the spinal cord. Okay, so this is how the brain is there. Now, midbrain, pons, and medulla together, they are called as brain stem. So three structures are present. Sequence-wise, midbrain, pons, and medulla. Medulla connects with spinal cord. Midbrain connects with the higher structure, cerebral cortex. And then you have got this yellow structure, which are called basal nuclei. So we will discuss them at the end also. Nucleus is something where cell bodies are present inside. Okay. And then you have got this small structure, thalamus, right deep into the cerebral cortex. Both basal ganglia and thalamus are present deep in the cerebral cortex. And then some major functions are also given here. Sometimes you get a question about this also. What are the functions of cerebral cortex? So what we are discussing today is sensation, sensory perception. We will discuss, inshallah, in the next lectures, control of the movement also. And we will not be discussing these things in detail, language and thinking, memory, decision making, etc. But all these are the functions of cerebral cortex. Then cerebellum, as I mentioned in the beginning, very important in balance. Also, we will discuss later muscle tone, and they are important in coordination and planning of a number of skilled voluntary muscle movements. Basal nuclei, they are also controlling the muscle tone, and movements are also being controlled by them along with cerebral cortex. And also, it is very important in suppression of useless patterns of movements. Thalamus, all the sensations, they have got a synapse there in the thalamus. And hypothalamus, as we have mentioned, it is very important link between nervous and endocrine system. Also, there are a number of centers that are present, such as temperature control, thirst, urine, and food intake. The brainstem, as we mentioned a short while ago, number of peripheral cranial nerves come out of brainstem, and very important centers for heart control, respiratory control, and digestive control are present there in the brainstem. And we also mentioned short while ago, in the spinal cord, there are certain cervical nerves, then thoracic nerves, lumbar nerves, sacral nerves, and coccygeal nerves. As it is mentioned here, there are 8 cervical nerves, 12 thoracic, 5 lumbar, 5 sacral, and 1 coccygeal. So we'll be referring to these things time and again. That's why they are given here for your record also. And central and peripheral nervous system we have already covered. Now we go to some details, further details of sensory things. As you mentioned that there are receptors, number of receptors. Here in this example, we are looking at eye as a receptor organ. Anybody knows what is present in the eye which is acting as a receptor? Yes. In the front, the eye just have got a cornea and then there is a lens. So they are just transmitting the light rays. But how we detect the image? What is present in the eye? Anyone knows?
Photoreceptors.
Excellent. Photoreceptors. Where are they? In particular area of the eye, do you know the name of that?
Cornea.
No, not in cornea. Cornea is a transparent thing from where the light rays just go in. So cornea is in front like this, and then we have got the eyeball like this. So what happens that light rays, they go, and then they strike certain area which contains the photoreceptors. So this is the layer of the photoreceptors, and this is called retina. Okay, photoreceptors are present where? They are present in the retina. So what we are concerned is that these photoreceptors are the actual detector of the light. Then they send the impulses through the sensory neuron into the central nervous system. There may be 1, 2, or many neurons. And if the brain decides that we have to do certain movement in response to a signal, say for example, I want to pick up this glass of water and drink water, then certain command will be given to the motor neurons, which will give the command to the muscle for contraction. So this is the stimulus response pathway. Is it clear?
Yeah, clear, doctor.
Yes.
Okay. Now, these are the steps. Again, you get a question from this also. What is a stimulus? Stimulus is any change in the environment, whether it is an internal environment or external environment. So this is a physical stimulus in the form of motion, light, temperature, sound, whatever it is. But basically, we define the stimulus as a change in the internal or external environment. And this change in the environment is basically detected by the receptors, whether these are eye receptors or ear or touch or vibration, pain, temperature, whatever. Now, this is a very important word here, transduction. All right. Transduction means whatever is the stimulus, a physical stimulus, it will be converted into an electrical signal, a neural signal. This conversion of any form of energy into electrical energy in the body is called transduction. Okay, so you can get a question about what is meaning of transduction. So you should understand that this is the transformation or conversion of one form of energy into another. In the body, it always is electrical. So you touch is a mechanical energy. It will be converted into an electrical signal. Smell is a chemical energy. It will be converted into an electrical signal. Light is electromagnetic. It will be converted into electrical signal. And once it is converted, then the next process of transmission, that is sending the signal towards the brain. So these are all action potentials. Okay. So this is the process of transmission. Then the brain is responsible for analysis and integration, deciding what to do further. So please, you should be clear about the terms also. What is a stimulus? What is the function of receptor? What is meant by transmission, analysis, and integration? So we have just mentioned any detectable change in the internal external environment that is capable of causing excitability. And the receptors are the one which receive this thing and they convert it into electrical signal, ultimately action potentials, which are also called impulses. An action potential is a signal. It can also be called an impulse, which will carry the information from one part to the other. Now, this is the thing that was the question I put there, that what are the various sensations we can feel. Mechanoreceptors are there, then there are thermoreceptors. Mechanoreceptors would give us the information about touch, about pressure, about vibration. Then the thermoreceptors give us the information about the temperature, like cold or warm. And proprioceptors, I mentioned before, they provide information about body position and movement. Included it are the information about muscle tension and position of joints, and also about the equilibrium. Can you give me the example of chemoreceptors? Hussain Al Khalifa, you know about chemoreceptors? Muhammad Isa? Yes, what are chemoreceptors? I would like to hear from somebody else. MashaAllah, Abdullah, you are raising hand every time. It's great. But some other persons should also be speaking. Hussain Al Yasin. Jawad Hussain. Maybe they are lost. Yes. Yes, Abdullah. Yes, 3 participants raised hands, so I have to see who are they. Yusuf Al Abad, okay, you can tell us.
Do you mean peripheral and central chemoreceptor?
So just name them. What is their function? Yusuf?
I'm not sure, but I think to measure how many, I think hydrogen ion or oxygen in the body.
Okay,
That's what
excellent.
I know.
Excellent. Faisal Al Noemi, what do you want to say?
The chemoreceptor detect the chains.
Yes. Once again, please.
Chemoreceptor detect the chains.
Change in what?
In the chemical, I don't remember, but like this.
Isn't that-
Hussain Al Khalifa, yes, what do you want to say?
It senses the chemical stimuli.
Yes. Give me some examples.
Is the pH level some chemical response?
Excellent. pH level also, hydrogen ion concentration. Any other?
Respiratory functions.
Oxygen, yes.
Glucose level.
The more apparent things are your sense of taste and smell. They are also chemoreceptors, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Then there are electromagnetic receptors. We just saw in the last example about light. Then this is a new word probably for you, nociceptors. Nociceptors, which detect physical or chemical damage occurring in the tissues. So basically, they are the pain receptors. They are the pain receptors. So you have got so many types of receptors. Depending upon their function, we can call them as mechano, thermo, proprio, chemo, or nociceptors, etc. Okay. And these initial four, vision, hearing, smell, and taste, they are special senses because they are just located in very particular areas. They are not distributed throughout the body. And the touch, and there are so many other sensations which are distributed throughout. But this was what is Hawase Khamsa. The Khamsa is touch. Under that is all these things which we have just mentioned here. Okay, except you can say electromagnetic, that is specifically for the eye. All right, what happens at the level of receptor? Whenever there is a stimulus, there is some electrical change. You remember that the resting membrane potential in nerve cells, etc., is something around minus 70 millivolts. You remember this thing?
Yes, doctor.
So this is inside minus 70 millivolts. Now, when there is a stimulus, here it is given as something entering like positive ions. It can be sodium also. Whenever positive ions come in, this resting membrane potential becomes less. Maybe it becomes, say, minus 65 millivolts. So this is what is called a depolarization. So this is what is happening here. And then ultimately you will have action potentials in the axons. So receptors, what they are doing, whatever is the stimulus, ultimately it causes some sort of a depolarization. And then the resting membrane potential changes, which ultimately leads to formation of action potential. So an action potential will be generated here. Then this action potential will travel towards the center. Okay. So the receptor is the specialized afferent ending. And this change in the membrane potential is called minus the receptor potential. And ultimately you will have transmission of nerve impulses in the form of action potentials. Yes, Saleh, you want to say something?
No, it was raised before.
Okay. So once, as I mentioned before, you have got stimulation of a receptor. So here another form of receptor is there, which is a pressure receptor. And this is conducting impulses through the axons, and it is going toward the center. Sometimes the receptor is a separate cell, which is connected to the axon through a synapse, where a neurotransmitter will be released. And this is very true for taste cells in the tongue. Your taste buds, they are having separate receptor cells which respond to chemical stimuli, and then they send messages in the form of neurotransmitter to the next neuron, and then action potential is generated. We can also classify sensations into general sensations and special sensations. Special we have already covered the names of them: vision, hearing, smell, taste. And general sensations also we have covered, but this is the terminology. Some of the sensations are only superficial sensations which are felt in the skin, like pain, temperature, touch. And some of the sensations are called deep sensations, which are not in the skin, rather they are deeper in the body. And this includes the proprioception, which is felt in the muscles, tendons, and joints. And then there are visceral sensations. Viscera is the internal organ. So sensations present in the stomach. You feel that your stomach is too full or you are feeling hungry. So those sensations, they are called visceral sensations. The bladder is full, you want to go to the hammam. So that is also a sensation. So the next very important thing is the question which I asked, that how we are able to differentiate different sensations, whether this is pain, this is touch, this is cold. So now you see this line, we call it as a labeled line. Here is the receptor. So we imagine that this receptor is a touch receptor. Okay. So if this is a touch receptor, it is detecting the stimulus which is touch, and then it is sending the impulses to the spinal cord first. There is a synapse either in the spinal cord or brainstem. Then a second neuron takes the message to thalamus, and then the third neuron from the thalamus takes the message to the cerebral cortex. So this is, you now imagine that this is a touch pathway starting from the receptor going to the cerebral cortex. A similar pathway, a second line will be present. So I will not draw in detail, but just imagine like this, that this is the second line, exactly following the same pathway. And this is not touch, this is pain.
What?
Pain. So there is another receptor which is a pain receptor. So it is running parallel to this. There is no mixing.
How, doctor?
Huh?
What does it, where does it go from?
It goes exactly from the receptor to the spinal cord, then from spinal cord to the thalamus, and then from thalamus to the cerebral cortex. So this is a separate line. Then there can be another separate line like this. This is only for, say for example, this is for cold. So what I am saying, that you have got different types of receptors. Every type of receptor will have its own pathway going right up to the cortex. You get my point or no?
Yes, doctor.
Is it clear?
Yes,
All
there
right,
is a
let us
sign
let us see in this example. So this is a receptor here, the green one. And what happens? It can be either a touch receptor or a vibration receptor or a proprioceptor. So ideally I should draw here 3 receptors, but because the diagram will become too congested, so I am just taking example that this is a touch receptor. Okay. The information from this touch receptor goes into this spinal cord. This is spinal cord, this large rectangle at the bottom, it is written that this is spinal cord. And see, it goes into the brainstem, and here a synapse is occurring. And then a second neuron is taking the message. And what is the peculiar thing here, which you have noted, that the message from one side of the spinal cord is going to the, what is happening?
the cortex immediately.
Huh? What?
It got the cortex immediately.
Yeah, but just see that this is the left side of the body and this is the right side of the body. The sensation is starting from right side of the body, but it is now going where? Which side of the brain?
The opposite side.
Opposite side, yes, excellent, simple. So this is one very important message to keep in mind. All your information from left side of the body is going to the right brain, and all information from the right side of the body is going to your left brain. Okay?
Okay.
All right, we will take another receptor. This is now, see, a temperature receptor. It can be temperature, it can be pain, or it can be some crude touch. So what happens here? Similar, but not exactly the same. What you see is this blue one, it also comes to the spinal cord, but here it makes a synapse immediately. And the second neuron, it goes to the opposite side of the spinal cord. Okay? And then it goes up and ultimately into thalamus, and from thalamus, there is another neuron which goes to the cerebral cortex. So again, the net result is the same, that pain, temperature, sensations from the right side of the body are going to the left cerebral cortex. Okay? Clear?
Got it, doctor. Clear.
Yes. Now the same thing will be from the opposite side also, of course. We are now, we were just concentrating on the right side of the body, information going to the left side. So what happens to information from the left side? Exactly in a similar fashion, the information from the left side about touch, vibration, proprioception goes into the spinal cord and goes up towards the brain. In the brainstem, it makes a station, that is synapse. The second neuron then takes the information to the opposite side into the thalamus, and then it goes into the cerebral cortex on the right side. Then about the pain and temperature, as we saw on the right side, the same on the left side. The information comes to the left spinal cord. Then the second neuron takes the information to the right side of the spinal cord and go up into the thalamus, and from the thalamus into the cerebral cortex. Clear?
Clear.
So this is a very important diagram. You can draw it very quickly also. If you have drawn it once, then there will not be any problem. Just use color pencils and keep a record of this. All right. Now, if you can recall your case in the beginning, what had happened there was on the right side, there was a damage. You remember this thing? The cut was like here in the lumbar area.
The car, what's it called? Spinal cord. Right?
Yes, the spinal cord was cut like this on the right side.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
And what was given there, that mechanosensory means touch, vibration, and proprioception were lost on the right side, isn't it? This is what was given in the case, that mechanosensory. So this is touch, vibration, and proprioception. They are the mechanical. It means sensory sensations. So these mechanosensory sensations, of course, if the neuron, this axon is cut, how the sensation can go to the brain? Not possible, isn't it? But what you see also, that pain, temperature, these sensations, they are preserved because they have gone on to the opposite side of the spinal cord, on the left side. Now you can remember the thing? Okay.
Yes, doctor.
Hmm. And then we also mentioned that temperature or pain sensations are lost on the left side. See, the pain and temperature sensations when they enter the spinal cord, they move to the right side. So when they were going up, here there is a cut. So the sensation of pain and temperature are lost in the other side, other leg, that is the left leg, instead of right. So just on the basis of this, you can explain the initial case. You might be getting a question about these things, not one question, more than one question in your exam, that which sensations are mechanosensory sensations, which tract transmit these. So collection of axons in the spinal cord, collection of axons in the central nervous system, including spinal cord, brainstem, and thalamus, these are called tracts. So this one is together, there are number of axons present together in the form of dorsal column tract. And the other tract is spinothalamic, starting from the spinal cord, going towards the thalamus. So it's spinothalamic, and it conducts or transmits the sensation of pain and temperature with something about crude touch. So you always get a question and we give you this thing that spinal cord was cut, half of it was cut on right side or on the left side. So which sensations will be lost, which sensations will be preserved? So these are very common questions you always get in your exam. So depending upon this diagram, if you understand and know this diagram, you will be able to answer all those questions. And this is just the same thing described in a little bit more detail, that dorsal column tract or dorsal column pathways, it will cross to the contralateral. Contralateral means opposite side in the medulla. And what sort of sensations it is transmitting? Proprioception, vibration, and touch. Fine touch, we say. Fine touch means you are able to discriminate or differentiate 2 points. Also, you are able to localize any particular stimulus. And then the third thing is stereognosis. So these things will be explained in detail in the lab, inshallah. Okay, don't worry about that. The other thing was spinothalamic tract, which crosses to the contralateral side within the spinal cord, as you see here in this diagram. And it conveys the sensations of pain, temperature, and also crude touch. Okay. And where the information goes in the brain, have you seen such diagram in anatomy about the cerebral cortex? Yes, Firas or Muhammad Isa? Are you familiar with this sort of diagram? Please tell me.
Yes, doctor. That's the brain.
Yeah, that's the brain. And what we are interested in is this. There are various grooves which are called sulci, and then there are projections which are known as gyri. So this is the central sulcus, which divides the cerebral cortex into a frontal lobe and a parietal lobe. And frontal lobe is predominantly concerned with motor functions. Whereas the parietal lobe, this particular area is our somato, that is body, sensory cortex. So sensations from the whole body come to this area, somatosensory cortex in the parietal lobe. In front of the central sulcus is the frontal area. Specifically, this is the area which will control the motor functions, muscle contractions. Okay. Then visual cortex is at the back within the occipital lobe, and auditory, that is hearing cortex, in the temporal lobe. So these are the various areas. So what this next figure is going to tell you is about exactly this area, somatosensory cortex. So now you will see a cross section of somatosensory cortex. And what you see here, basically, just to make it clear, that different areas of the somatosensory cortex are receiving messages from different areas of the body. So, for example, this part of the somatosensory cortex is receiving information from your face. This part is receiving information from your hand. This part is receiving information from the most of your body. See here, face, hand, then arm, the thorax and abdomen, the hip, etc. And then this is the part on the inside which is receiving information from the foot and genitals. Okay. So it is not just spread out. There are specific areas in your brain which deal with the sensations from areas of your body. Okay, we stop for 5 minutes and then we'll continue, inshallah. Okay, Saleh? Saleh, Umar? Umar?
He responded from the chat.
So we will just have a short break only, and then we'll try to cover the remaining things. Our lecture time is up to 9:50, okay? So we have to complete our things.
Okay.
So, all right, can we start, please?
Yeah, Doctor.
Okay, Abdullah, thank you. So what I was talking is that our cerebral cortex has got definite areas which will receive information from different parts of our body. You see the face here, the hand area here, the foot area here, and rest of the body area somewhere. Now, the peculiar thing here, which I want you to note is that compared to your foot area, see your hand area is much bigger, isn't it? No response. This is one thing which I want you to understand, that your hand area is much larger as compared to your foot or knee or leg area. Also, your face area is much larger in the cerebral cortex, meaning there are many more neurons present in the sensory cortex which are receiving information from your face as compared to your abdomen or thorax or foot, etc. So you frequently get questions related to this, that the somatosensory area of the cerebral cortex has got many features. Number one, the body is represented upside down. This is what you saw. The foot area and leg is on the top, and the face area is at the bottom. Also, there is somatotopic representation. Soma, I have told you, is body. Topic is a map, point-to-point sort of representation there. So it is somatotopic, means there is a map of face on the cerebral cortex, map of your hand, map of your body, map of your foot. That is, map of whole of your body is there in the cerebral cortex representation. And the important thing here is that different parts are not equally represented. Face is much bigger, hand is much bigger. So what is the problem here? Not problem. The logic here is the size of the area in the somatosensory cortex is proportional to density of receptors in that part of the body. That is, the size of the area is proportional to sensitivity of the part of the body. All of us know this thing, that whenever we want to buy a piece of cloth, we actually feel it with our fingers, the thumb and index finger, like that. Sometimes we touch it to our cheeks or lips in order to find the texture, whether we like it or not. So these are our most sensitive areas. These are our most sensitive areas. The fingertips, the face area, and what was written, that these areas have got maximum number of receptors. The density of the receptor means that in a unit volume or unit area, the number of receptors present. Say, for example, if we have got this as a sphere, so you will have receptor 1, receptor 2, receptor 3, receptor 4, 5, 6 receptors there. And in a similar area also, the number of receptors are much more. So the density is much more. So more dense area, this is present in the fingertips, and this is present in the, say, thorax and abdomen. So we always get a question that the sensitivity of the different areas of the body is different. What is the underlying basis of that? It is dependent upon the density of the receptors. The sensitivity of a particular area is dependent upon the density of receptors present in that part. And we use the word sensitivity for that. Now, the information that is going up, we saw that everything has got a synapse present in the thalamus. This synapse is called relay. Relay station for all sensory input is the thalamus. At the level of the thalamus, an animal can have some degree of sensation also. What I mean that in experiments they have seen that if the cerebral cortex of the animal is damaged, but the thalamus is fine, even then the animal can feel crude sensation. It can respond to those sensations. Okay. So thalamus has got some intermediary function there for sensory integration. But it is the somatosensory area of the cerebral cortex, which is also called the primary somatosensory cortex, which enables us to exactly localize from where the sensations are coming. And also it detects the intensity of the stimulus, meaning whether it is light pain or very severe pain, it is a light touch or a very hard touch, it is a small change in the temperature or a large change in the temperature. So all these things are the functions of our primary somatosensory cortex. In addition to that, the memories of earlier sensory experiences are also stored in the cerebral cortex. You remember what you have felt before. Okay. Now
Okay,
the
Doctor.
next concept, which is related to the previous one, is receptive field. What is receptive field? You see that this is a neuron, and these are basically its extensions. In a sensory neuron, you can say these are the extensions like dendrites. Now, if we touch here in this area, this same neuron is stimulated. If we touch in this area, this same neuron is stimulated. Even if we touch in this area, same neuron is stimulated. But if we touch in this area, there will be another neuron here. Okay, that will be stimulated. So this is a separate neuron. So this area, which when gets a stimulus, it activates one neuron. So this is called the receptive area or receptive field of this particular neuron. So region over which application of these stimulus can produce a response in the afferent neuron. This is the definition for a receptive field. And what is the importance of that? We find here that if you have got a smaller receptive field as you have in your fingertips or on your cheeks and lips, this will be the small receptive fields. Many receptors are there. Receptors are densely packed. So you are able to have high sensitivity. You can differentiate various things very clearly. And this is the receptive field, a large receptive field. So if we say touch by 2 points here, the same neuron is stimulated. Whereas in this particular diagram, if we are touching the two with 2 points, then 2 different neurons are being stimulated. So this is a more sensitive thing as compared to the figure on the right side. So the technical term we use is acuity, A-C-U-I-T-Y, acuity for a sensation. How acute is your sensation, or how sensitive is a particular part, okay? So this is dependent upon the size of the receptive field. So again, you are likely to get a question about this receptive field. What is the importance of that in your exam? So ultimately, we started with this question, that how you are able to feel that this is a temperature sensation, this is touch sensation. So we finish with that it depends on the receptor type activated and the specific pathway that is taken for a particular sensation, okay? As you see here, there are different types of receptors: pain, touch, cool, warm. So they send their signals in different lines and they go to the brain ultimately in definite areas, and you are able to differentiate this particular object. It is touching my finger, but it is also warm. So there will be 2 lines going up right to the cerebral cortex. So receptor type activated and the specific pathway involved and the specific areas in the brain that are stimulated that help you to decode the information. All right. Now, how are you able to differentiate whether it is a strong stimulus or a weak stimulus? The simple thing is, when the stimulus is stronger, it will activate more receptors. See here in this diagram, a weak stimulus is stimulating, say, 4 receptors, whereas a strong stimulus is stimulating 7 receptors, just to make you understand. So this is for the same single neuron, but it is also possible that the number of neurons stimulated also get more. A weak stimulus is stimulating only 1 neuron, whereas a strong stimulus is stimulating 3 neurons. So this is how the brain will interpret. If the signal is coming only from 1 neuron, the brain perceives it as a weak stimulus. But if the signal is coming from 3 neurons, then it is a stronger stimulus. So this sort of coding is called population coding. That is, more number of receptors are being stimulated. Same thing here, a weak stimulus, a moderate stimulus, and a strong stimulus. More number of receptors being stimulated. So what we have done in the lecture so far, we have seen that we can detect the various types of stimulus depending upon the receptor type and specific pathway leading up to particular area of cortex. We also know the location of the stimulus because of the point-to-point connection of the activated receptive field. Also the pathway from the foot is a different pathway as compared to pathway from the hand. And then the area of the cortex, as we saw in the somatotopic organization of the cortex. For intensity of stimulus, we have seen that number of receptors activated, and also the same receptor, the number of action potentials generated also differentiated whether it is a weak stimulus or a strong stimulus. So this was our case. What we have finally concluded, depending upon our information now, we can quickly say that some of the information about pain and temperature is coming from the other side in the spinal cord and mechanosensory on the same side. Okay. So now if this diagram comes in your exam and we ask you these questions, I hope you will be able to answer. This particular condition where half of the spinal cord is cut is called as hemicord. Also, it is known as Brown-Sequard syndrome. So these are the other names that are given to the same condition where we have the stabbing of one half of the spinal cord. If the stab was involving the whole of the spinal cord, we will call it as a complete transection. The next thing is about the pain, and inshallah within 15 minutes we should be covering this thing, and then next time we will do the motor system, inshallah. The important thing about the pain, all of you are aware that it is a protective mechanism. It protects the body from further damage. If you have a cut in your finger, there is pain and you tend to keep it away. Do not touch it at any other surface because you know that it will aggravate the injury. So it's a protective mechanism, and it brings to conscious awareness the fact that tissue damage is occurring. So we get to know that something is wrong, some damage is going on. Also, this is not a very pleasant experience. This is an unpleasant experience. And it is also accompanied by some emotional and motivational responses such as crying, and motivational responses such as withdrawal. You move away from a thing which is producing injury or pain. Just to give you an example, myocardial infarction, MI, that is the heart attack or coronary occlusion. If we ask the person, what was your feeling? Most of them would say that it was pain, and the pain was severe. Some would say that it was a crushing pain, like a foot of an elephant on the chest. Or it was felt as a very extreme tightness of the chest. And some people would simply say that I did not feel much pain in the chest, but I felt pain in the neck or the shoulder, even in the jaw or in the arm. So the pain is radiating. It is not localized, or it is not present in the chest. Rather, it is more towards the neck, jaw, shoulder, or arm, sometimes even to the back. But this is all pain. So what is the underlying physiology of this pain? As I mentioned before, pain receptors are there. They are also called nociceptors. And nociceptors have got this particular thing that they do not adapt to sustained or repetitive stimulation. Meaning that you keep on feeling the pain as long as you have the damage going on. So if there is tissue damage going on, you keep on feeling the pain. The pain does not go down. So this is a very important aspect of pain, that the signal is not reduced. It is maintained, or it might increase even because of certain things. Now there are different types of pain receptors. Some of them are called mechanical pain receptors, mechanical nociceptors. Some of them thermal, and some are called polymodal. By mechanical nociceptor means that they respond to mechanical damage, meaning maybe there is a cut or there is a blow, compression, crushing injury, like in accidents. Then there are thermal nociceptors, which basically detect damage caused by extreme of temperature, very hot, very cold. They can also produce damage. The third type is polymodal, meaning they respond to different types of stimuli that can cause the damage, even chemical stimuli. Some acid falls on the body, some other chemical damage can occur. They also respond to thermal and mechanical damage. So nociceptors, from that nociceptive mechanism of pain. Say here, for example, you have got this pin present and accidentally you touch this pin. So immediately there is damage. So this is a pain receptor that will generate signals, and then this signal will be transmitted, as we saw before, into the spinal cord. Then there will be a synapse. It will go over to the other side. It goes to the brain stem, passes through that, and in the thalamus there is another synapse, and then from the thalamus into the cerebral cortex. So this is the nociceptive mechanism and pathway that occur. Number of substances are produced at the site of damage. Inflammatory cells and the things produced at the site of damage can actually influence the process of transduction, including bradykinin, growth factors, prostaglandins, and there are many other things also. So again, this diagram is very important, how the pain signal is started. So if you concentrate onto this side, we have got certain chemicals, including potassium, 5-hydroxytryptamine, and bradykinin. They are the ones which will activate the pain receptors. In addition to that, there are few substances like prostaglandins and leukotrienes, which do not directly activate the receptor, but they sensitize the receptor. So the difference would be that if a sensitizer is present, even very small amount of potassium will be able to produce a signal in the pain receptor. But if there are no prostaglandins, then you will need high amount of potassium to produce a pain signal. So this is the difference between an activator and a sensitizer. Sensitizer will not directly produce a signal in the nociceptor. So these all these chemicals, either they are released by cell damage or they could even be released by mast cells, and ultimately the signal is generated. Now the next thing about the pain is that, say for example, there is a damage in the finger, there is a cut, because of some injury, there is a cut. So as soon as there is a cut, you feel the pain. So it's a mechanical damage. And this type of pain, this is basically called a fast pain, as compared to the pain which will remain after some time. You know, when there is an injury, initially you feel a lot of pain. Then after 1 or 2 hours, still you have got pain, but the intensity of the pain is less. So the first pain or the fast pain, and the second pain is the slow pain. The type of receptors that are stimulated in the fast pain are these mechanical nociceptors. Okay. And for the Slow pain later on are the polymodal nociceptors. This fast pain, it is carried by small myelinated A delta fibers. These are the myelinated fibers, whereas the slow pain is carried by unmyelinated C fibers. Okay. And the difference between two types of pain is that the initial pain, it is very sharp and pricking type of sensation, whereas the later on the pain becomes dull, aching, burning sensation, and it is also not localized. Say, for example, I gave you the example that there's a cut here. So the pain is exactly in this area. And what you do is you just press this area. But later on, you are just massaging the whole finger. The pain is not just localized to this small area. It is spreading. Maybe even the whole hand is there. So the slow pain is more unpleasant, persists for a long time, and it is dull and aching, and it is poorly localized. Whereas the initial pain is very well localized, occurring first, and producing a sharp pricking sensation. Also, it is fast because, as we mentioned, it is being transmitted through myelinated fibers, though it is very thin myelination. Whereas slow pain is transmitted through unmyelinated C fibers. Also, the type of receptors, they are different. Fast pain is by mechanical and thermal nociceptors, whereas slow pain is by polymodal nociceptors. So this is what is happening. We start with this painful stimulus. This is the nociceptor that detects this damage. This is the afferent pain fiber which sends the signals. This is the synapse in the spinal cord. Now the neurotransmitter secreted, mostly it is substance P. This is the name of the neurotransmitter, and it goes to the interneuron present in the spinal cord and stimulates this one, which sends the signals to the higher brain centers like thalamus and sensory cortex. Now, what is the special thing here in this diagram? This diagram is telling you why we start crying, why there are tears in our eyes whenever we have a pain. So this signal not only goes to the thalamus, but it also goes from a collateral branch to reticular formation, which produces alertness in the body. So you cannot even go to sleep when you have got pain. And the signal also goes to the hypothalamus and limbic system from the reticular formation and from the thalamus. So this is why we have got certain behavioral and emotional responses such as crying, withdrawal. Our face expression is different, as if we are in great pain. So this is how the pain pathway affects the hypothalamus and a special part of cerebral cortex, which is called limbic system, which is related to emotions. All right. Now a few terms. Analgesia. So another name of pain is algesia. Algesia is pain, and algesia will be relief of pain. Finishing the pain. And algogenic. It is a pain-producing substance. Algogenic, gesic or genic. So analgesic will be anything that relieves the pain, like aspirin, like Brufen, Panadol, all of them act as analgesic drugs. Okay. you not only feel pain in the body, but you can also feel pain in the internal organs. If you have pain in your stomach, pain in your bladder, pain in your kidney, then this type of pain is called visceral pain. The visceral pain is usually not very well localized. It is more sort of diffuse. You cannot exactly pinpoint where is the pain. You can just like hold some part of your abdomen, that, oh, I am feeling pain in this part of my tummy, or I am feeling pain in this part of my back, the kidney pain. So it is poorly localized, and also this visceral pain is usually associated with some autonomic symptoms such as sweating, nausea, vomiting, and even some blood pressure variation or heart rate variation. Sometimes the blood pressure goes up because of the pain in your kidneys. What is the cause of the pain? It can be due to inflammation. Sometimes the smooth muscles in the internal organs, it gets contracted like this. That is called a spasm. Sometimes if the bladder has got too much urine and there is urinary retention, the bladder will become big. This is called stretching or distension. And sometimes it is ischemia, where there is reduced blood flow. That is called ischemia. As we mentioned a short while ago about heart attack. So these pain sensations from visceral organs, they are usually carried by sympathetic or parasympathetic C fibers, because the internal organs are innervated by autonomic nervous system. Then we have got a special thing which is called referred pain, as you saw in case of the heart attack. The pain was basically coming from the heart, but the people are complaining that I am having pain in my neck or shoulder or arm, like this. So this is called referred pain, meaning the origin of the pain is in one area, but you are feeling the pain in another area of the body. And most of the times the pain is arising from a viscera, but it is felt or perceived as coming from a portion of the body surface. So this is what is called referred pain. What is the underlying logic of this? Actually, during the process of development of the body, the nerve fibers from these anatomically different regions, they converge on the same spinal neuron. As you see in the diagram here, say for example, you see this is the heart, and this is the nerve coming from the heart. This is the shoulder and the arm, and the nerve fibers are coming from there. So these are somatic nerves coming from the body surface. But what you see here is that this nerve fiber and the nerve fiber coming from the heart, both of them go in the spinal cord and go to the same neuron in the spinal cord. Now, this neuron cannot differentiate whether the signal is coming from the heart or signal is coming from the shoulder or arm. And you see that this signal is transmitted ultimately to the brain. Now, we have not seen our heart. We are not experienced about the sensations coming from the heart. But we are all the times we have experienced that we have shoulder pain, we have arm pain. So now the signal is taking the same route to the brain. The brain interprets it as pain coming from this region of the body, whereas it actually started from the heart. But because the neuron is the same, common neuron for two different areas, this is the reason why we feel it as pain in the shoulder. The person will complain that I am having severe pain in the shoulder or the arm, though he is having heart attack. Okay. So same thing here in the trigeminal area also. Sometimes you have got infection of the tooth, and you start feeling pain in the eyes or in the sinuses like that. So with that, we finish our discussion about pain also. Any questions, please?
No, thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you. I will send you the recording of this lecture also. Inshallah, you can share it. All right then. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi.